Deport him now, because he's not promoting free speech. He's promoting incitement to violence. Hate speech is actually outlawed in the United States.
I have evidence that Rabbi Shmuley is supporting the terror state of Israel. Does that mean he should lose his rights? No, he has rights. So
you have
why
evidence?
should this student...
I want you to provide it. Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead. No Jew has ever called me a Nazi before. And I would really ask you in the remaining time of the show, just for your own credibility, I don't care. You're off the reservation, my brother. Your credibility, this is going to stay on your Wikipedia page forever, and you're never going to live it down. So you got a couple minutes left. Say, you know what? In the heat of the moment, I overstated it. We saw Jewish students, excuse me, Aaron, we saw Jewish students at Harvard being beaten to a pulp with nothing being done. And we Jews are kind of sick of it.
Rabbi Shmuley melts down, erupts in a firestorm as he clashes with journalist Aaron Maté over free speech, campus protests, and accusations of being called a Nazi. In a debate that spirals into chaos on Piers Morgan Uncensored, the drama peaks as Shmuley demands for an apology from Aaron. This debate is raw and explosive, so grab your popcorn. Let's jump into it.
Here's what you call pro-Hamas. I would just simply call anti-mass murder. That's what these brave Columbia students were protesting. And I think it's an egregious attack on free speech that a permanent resident with a green card, he's married to a U.S. citizen, she's 8 months pregnant, has been snatched from his home. He's not charged with anything. No one's indicted him for providing material support to Hamas or any other group, because this whole action is simply political. It's an attack on free speech. These students who put up these encampments on campuses, I think that was one of the most courageous acts of moral conscience that we've seen in the U.S. in many years. And it outraged the
bunch of students just shouting and yelling outside. It's not that courageous. I think the point that people are making about why it was so offensive and egregious was the open, brazen support that so many of them seem to have specifically for Hamas. If you were there protesting, supporting Palestinian civilians, okay, the Palestinian people. But the moment you are directly endorsing and supporting a terror group, surely all bets are off then. Why should America allow you to remain in the United States if you're endorsing a terror group? Secretary of State Marco Rubio said on X about the arrest of Mr. Halil, said, we'll be revoking the visas and/or green cards of Hamas supporters in America so they can be deported. Many Americans will agree with that.
Again, first of all, you have the right to free speech to support whoever you want. You can support Hamas if you want to. Now, I went to these encampments.
Well, you can't endorse terrorist activity, can you? Well, that's inciting terrorism.
There was an endorsement of the right to resist military occupation, which is internationally recognized right.
But if you endorse Hamas's behavior, you are endorsing terrorism, which is a crime, isn't it? If you promote and incite
no, it's not a crime.
Terrorism,
that's why he hasn't been charged with it.
He hasn't yet.
If it's a crime, then why hasn't he been charged with it?
Let's wait and see.
He hasn't been charged with it.
Let's wait and see.
Well, he's not going to be charged with it because this is an attack on free speech.
Okay, well, Rabbi Shmuley, an attack on free speech, many have said that. What do you say to that?
Deport him now, because he's not promoting free speech. He's promoting incitement to violence. Hate speech is actually outlawed in the United States. I love the First Amendment, but you cannot incite violence for people to be attacked. Now, when they go to these encampments in Barnard or Berkeley, they're not just protesting. They're calling for intifada now. They're calling for for violence. They're calling for the murder of Jews. And they are endorsing Hamas. Aaron is being disingenuous. So many of them openly they have no shame telling the AP, telling CNN, Fox, MSNBC, that they are absolutely pro-Hamas. And intifada now is a call for violence. Incitement to violence in the age of the greatest tsunami of anti-Semitism since the Second World War, since the Holocaust, where Jewish students are harassed, intimidated, punched, beat up, kicked, spat on. We've seen it all. They're not even, you see, what October 7th did with Hamas filming their atrocities is inspire everyone else to do the same, which is why we're seeing al-Julani kill the Alawites, and they're all filming it. They're not even worried about the ICC prosecuting them, and that's what these students at Barnard are doing. He should be deported. I understand he's married to an American wife. That breaks my heart. But he's the one who did this to himself. But Jewish students can go to university without fear of being murdered. And I would say one thing to you, Aaron, if I may. You say just 1 second, please.
No one's afraid of being
Aaron,
murdered.
you started. By the way, I didn't know you were Jewish. You're my Jewish brother. Nothing will change that. May I just say, you know, I've been disappointed by many Jews since October 7th. One of the last times I did Pierce's show, I debated Mohammed Hijab. one of his supporters attacked me in the Fontainebleau Hotel, one of the most famous hotels in Miami Beach, Florida, 1/3 Jewish. And he came and said Mohammed Hijab, and he threatened to murder me. It was filmed, 4.5 minutes. And the Jewish owner, Jeffrey Sofer, billionaire, sued me, not him, to silence me because anti-Semitism is bad for business at the hotel. I've been disappointed by many Jews since October 7th. But no Jew, plenty of anti-Semites, no Jew has ever called me a Nazi before. And I would really ask you in the remaining time of the show, just for your own credibility, I don't care. You're off the reservation, my brother. Your credibility, this is going to stay on your Wikipedia page forever, and you're never going to live it down. So you got a couple minutes left. Say, you know what? In the heat of the moment, I overstated it. I said that a Jew, because the Nazis killed 10,000 Jews every day. They gassed 1.5 million Jews. I've gassed no Arab. I've hurt no Arab. I've defended Arab rights my whole life. So take it back, just so you'll be invited back on shows, because otherwise you're going to be labeled an off the reservation extremist. And I'd rather hear your voice.
Rabbi Shmuley.
You have just a few minutes to take it back. Just say,
excuse me.
I lost it.
Excuse me. I was responding to you invoking the Nazi Holocaust.
No, you said I am a successor to the Nazis.
No, I'm sorry. You
know, the problem with TV is that it's forever.
In response to the, okay,
just say you're sorry.
Well, I have to say, I was pretty stunned you said that, Aaron. I mean, to actually directly say he's a successor to the Nazis, given his history as a high-profile Jewish man and his family's history. I mean, that's about as an appalling an allegation you could make against anyone like Rabbi Shmuley, isn't it?
Not nearly as appalling as supporting a genocide, frankly.
And if I can answer,
names is one thing.
Well, two things can be true at once.
If I can answer.
Aaron, yeah.
He invoked the Nazi Holocaust to actually say we should not be negotiating with Hamas, who he compared to the Nazis. And my point was, if we're going to be making analogies to the Nazi Holocaust, and the fact is you have a Jewish supremacist state that believes it's superior, has more rights than the Palestinians of that land, has put the people of Gaza under a medieval siege, subjected them to mass murder, put them in a concentration camp. And in that respect, that's where the analogy to, of course, no analogy is perfect. I'm not saying that Israeli crimes are on par with that of the Nazis. Nothing compares to what the Nazis did to the Jews and other groups.
So was it fair to say he's a successor to a Nazi? I mean, seriously.
I'm saying my point was, if you're going to be invoking the Nazi Holocaust, the current successors to the Nazi legacy of supremacy and mass murder are Israel and its apologists.
Fine. Yes. Okay, I got it. So I'm a Nazi, Israel's Nazi. Aaron, wait, one second. A point of historical fact, please.
On the smearing of the student,
a point of historical fact for a moment.
Omar, I will come to you, just one second.
A point of historical fact. You keep on saying that Israel denies Gazans, Palestinians' rights. I mean, I'm just shocked by this. Again, I just want to speak fact right now. Israel has 1.9 million Arab Muslim citizens who not only enjoy every right that an Israeli has, they enjoy more rights. If Israel's an apartheid state, it's that they're actually oppressing Jews. I'll prove it easily. My sons had to go to war, even though they're Americans, because there's a draft only against Jews. Now, if you think a draft to go to war, and for me and my wife to not sleep for the past 10 months as our sons were forced to fight the Hamas terrorists in Gaza, the Hamas terrorists of Hezbollah in Lebanon, that's not easy. Every time we saw 972 code number, we couldn't sleep at night. What tore America apart in the 1960s, where it was even more divided than right now under Trump? It was the draft. It was the draft. It was the draft. It was the draft. So Arabs have complete rights. Israel is not, Gaza's not an Israeli state. What do you mean Israel denies them rights?
Rabbi
Israel
Shmuley,
withdrew. And wait 1 second, please.
Unless they're in Gaza
1 second,
or the West
please.
Bank,
I'm a historian of the Holocaust. I wrote a book called The Holocaust Holiday. When you say that Gaza is a concentration camp, let me get this straight. Have you ever visited Gross Rosen, Mauthausen, Birkenau, Auschwitz I, Auschwitz III? Have you ever visited Buchenwald? Have you ever Bergen-Belsen? Are you telling me there are concentration camps that don't have soldiers in them? Are you telling me the SS? There isn't one Israeli soldier in Gaza ever. They only went in after October 7th. Because in 2006, Hamas, which you said was elected, even though we can question the election, but let's say it was legitimate. They decided to steal every dollar that came in that could have built power plants, that could have built schools and hospitals. And they built terror tunnels and they built Qassam rockets. So Israel is not denying them a single right. And to call it a concentration camp, with all due respect, is a fundamental desecration of the Holocaust and a desecration of the memory of the 6 million.
I'm not alone in that. Giora Island also called them at Bruch Kimmerling. Plenty of Israelis have called it that as well, because that's exactly what
Name
it is.
one. Name one Israeli. Name one. Name one Israeli.
Baruch Kimmerling. Have you heard of him?
He's a nobody.
He's a
I haven't
very
heard. Who's heard of him?
Israeli
Has anyone
sociologist.
watching this heard of Baruch Kimmerling? Tell me one prominent
Yeah, he's a
Israeli
very
who
famous
who said that Israel are Nazis. Tell me one.
Giora
One.
Island.
Who?
Giora Island. You know who he is, right? He's
I
a
have
very
no
famous general.
idea who these people are. Tell me
so
someone
you don't
who
think-
actually has
Okay.
stature.
Well,
Tell me. I mean, I'll tell you
He's a
that
general.
Baruchovich said it.
All right, I will say I think it was wrong.
There's a point I don't wanna
I think
miss.
it was wrong to say that, Aaron. I do. I think I was incredibly surprised you said it. I just think you cannot possibly equate a bunch of Jews to the Nazis. It's just it's incomprehensible to me. Let me come to Omar for this last point. This is Trump's world vision for Gaza, the Riviera. Let's take a look to remind ourselves how Trump saw this. He reposted an AI video on Truth Social.
Bringing the light for all to see. No more tunnels, no more fear. Trump Gaza is finally here. Trump Gaza shining bright. Golden future, a brand new light. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza, #1. Trump Gaza shining bright. Golden future, a brand new light. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza, #1.
Now, it's been roundly ridiculed, that obviously, but the effect of it is exactly what I thought might happen, which is it was such an outlandish idea that Trump had that all the Palestinians would simply leave and you'd build a new Riviera there and so on, that it's forced the Arab world to come together and to come up with an alternative plan, which they now have, a $53 billion plan for the post-war reconstruction of the Gaza Strip. You know, sometimes you have to look, as I say, Trump will take things to the nth degree to force people to a negotiating table to actually get stuff done. I mean, do you see a bit of method to the madness there?
Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced, to be honest, that this kind of vision is part of the reason why other countries were pushed to come up with a plan as quickly, maybe sped it up, came up with it a little bit faster. But the only plan that you need for Gaza is for Israel to get the hell out of Gaza, and just whatever happens from there happens. It's just not Israel's business. But Piers, I don't want this segment to end without me addressing the student issue that you mentioned a little bit earlier. Because this kid, Mahmoud Khalil, has basically been smeared by the Trump administration, by Marco Rubio on Twitter, by accusing him of being a Hamas supporter and a terror supporter.
Well, is he?
This student has said nothing of the kind. He's guilty of being a part of a protest in which people are protesting genocide, and then maybe every once in a while somebody might say something that is off-putting or awful.
But how do you know he's not a Hamas supporter out of interest?
Nobody has made any allegations or presented any evidence that he has said or done anything.
You just said Marco Rubio did. You just said the
exclusively
Secretary of State of the United States did.
Yes, without any evidence. Without any evidence is what I'm saying. There's no evidence against him.
But they are building.
Everybody
They're
who knows
building
him knows.
But actually, that is Rabbi Shmuley.
I have to finish this thought.
Well, that is an important point of distinction. I mean, if he's going to be deported for supporting Hamas, you do surely have to present evidence that he has supported Hamas. I don't think leading a protest group where most of them behaved peacefully and were not brazenly supporting Hamas would be enough, in my eyes, to justify what would then be surely an infringement of his First Amendment rights.
I want America to be.
I
want to be America to be a nation of laws. I want Muslim Americans. They're, of course, as American as George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. The word American is infinitely.
But you accept he'd have to have shown support for Hamas.
But he's not an American. That's the point. So he can be deported. His wife's American, and I hate to see them torn apart. But he made his choices.
But if the reason given by the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is that he supported Hamas, it is surely in the interests of justice and fairness that there is some evidence shown to the American people that he actually did support Hamas.
There will be due process, and of course the administration and ICE will have to provide evidence. That's the United States of America. But I will say that to say that these were peaceful protests,
so far
I think, just one moment, please.
Disappeared.
I think one of the reasons that Trump won the election, including shocking the world by winning the popular vote, was because of these demonstrations. They were anything but peaceful. People saw total anarchy. They saw our best universities, all the Ivy League universities, Brown and Harvard and Berkeley and Columbia, being burned to the ground. They saw Jewish students being spat on. We saw Jewish students, excuse me, Aaron, we saw Jewish students at Harvard being beaten to a pulp with nothing being done. And we Jews are kind of sick of it. And if you think we're just, wait, since you spoke, Aaron, so much about us being a white supremacist, Israel, I'm actually American. I'm not Israeli, but I love Israel. I'm Jewish. What about America?
Jewish
America can't be a supremacist state either, where Jews are second-class citizens. Students who work hard to get into Harvard do not deserve to be beaten up because they wear a kippah. And I've been to these protests, and they were disgusting. And I want to tell you how many times that my life has been threatened. I told you my life was threatened at the Fontainebleau, Miami Beach. My life was threatened in Times Square. My wife was almost punched out by a Mohammed hijab supporter outside Carnegie Hall.
There you have it, folks. Rabbi Shmuley, one-man broad show, tears, tweets, and drama. The unhinged chronicles of Zionist crusaders, complete with Holocaust analogies, deportation demands, and a stunning lack of self-awareness. While Shmuley theatrically waved the banner of Jewish safety, he accidentally auditioned for the role of drama king of the dystopia, turning Gaza into a personal metaphor playground. Meanwhile, Piers Morgan, our beloved chaos connoisseur, sat grinning like a kid at a fireworks show. Let's be real, this debate was less about free speech and more about Shmuley's performative outrage. Don't forget to like and share, y'all. Catch you in the next one.